and all of our congressmen in this room if we don't get that damn thing passed quickly.
One of those men who got called out, Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. Nice to have you here. And I should just note for our viewers, you support this bill. You support the House health care bill. So what was your take when the president threatened you? Were you like, hey, I'm on your team?
I just think if you're a member of Congress, you're used to people calling you out and people being angry with you. I think it's just part of what we're going through right now, and a lot of it is well-deserved. But, you know, when the president says, listen, we need to get this done, he means we need to get it done. I don't mind being called out. Listen, I'm from the private sector. If you don't call it out, it means nobody's looking at you. So one of the things I know growing up is you want coaches yelling at you, because if they're yelling at you, they know you're there.
All right, let me call out something you said in February then, in the spirit of what you just asked for. You wrote in February, we will make sure that no one struggling with complex medical needs or pre-existing conditions is denied access to affordable health care options. So the amendment being discussed right now removes requirements that states provide affordable options to folks with pre-existing conditions. It removes the guarantee that they be charged the same amount. So does that break the promise that you made in February?
Well, you know what, I can make a promise from where I am. I can't make a promise for our whole conference or for the whole piece of legislation. I can tell you what I think drives it, and I can tell you that people with pre-existing, that's a major concern for them. You know, I represent not just Republicans back in Pennsylvania's 3rd District, but I represent Democrats and also people who actually have no interest in politics at all. So I think that it's very difficult. People say, well, you said this, but something else happened. I am one member of Congress, and I'm trying to represent the district.
But Congressman, to be fair, I mean, can you really say that? If you vote for it, if you put your name on this, you are in essence then breaking your promise, are you not? I mean, you can say this is just my opinion, but then you have to make the decision. It's why taxpayers pay your salary to say I'm going to vote for it or I'm not going to.
Yeah, well, that's very good on your part, but let me just tell you, this is not where you go to a buffet and you pick what you want. This is a one-price fix. It's either in the bill or it's not in the bill. If I were to say there was one thing that really bothered me, so I decided to scrap it all and I'm not going to go for it.
It's a big thing.
That would be, no, well, listen, it's a big thing. It's a big thing, and we fight for it. Fight for what you can get. Try to get as much as you can for the people you represent. But this is not listen, it's not up just to me. It's up to everybody else to get it there. Now, you know that this is going to go from the House over to the Senate, and we're going to see what the Senate comes up with before it gets down to the White House. So I think to say, well, you said this, but you weren't able to keep your word. I kept my word, but I fought for it. That's all I can do. I can guarantee where I am.
You fought for it. You know, it's not in the amendment right now. So as you sit here today, you are going to vote for the bill. But are you still opposed to the language of the amendment? Do you believe that this opens the door to raise prices on people with pre-existing conditions?
You know what? That's something that the insurers are going to have to decide. We created a business model for them that they try to comply with. I like the idea that people can pick and choose the product that they want, that they have the say over it, then it's not driven from the top down. So it's a very difficult process, as you all know, and people can make those kind of statements. They can beat their chest and say, I'm just not going to vote for it because it wasn't exactly what I want. So you know what? That's fine. But in the world that I grew up in, I didn't always get everything I wanted, but I kept working to get to where I could. So one vote, does that define your whole career in Congress? I don't think so.
But do you, just to restate John's question, because John specifically asked you, does this open the door to allow insurers to charge much more to those with pre-existing conditions? We've read this about 20 times, the amendment, and every read, yes, it does. You would admit that, right?
Well, of course, it's a business model. You know, the greater the risk, the actuaries have to determine how great the risk is. Insurance is nothing more than a business program, as you well know. So if your risk is greater, then the cost, the premiums are going to be there. But listen, where we are right now, we're in a very difficult position with health care. Premiums have skyrocketed, deductions have skyrocketed, co-pays have skyrocketed. So to say, you know what, you guys had the opportunity, you didn't get it done. I would just say this, look, we're working through a very tough situation on a piece of health care that was a legislation that was passed years ago that wasn't perfect. And I think if our friends on the other side had the chance to do it all over again, they'd probably take a look at it a little bit differently. But we wanted to make sure that we cover folks.
And again, and we're not trying to be cute here. We're just trying to understand what the choices. We're just trying to understand what the choices are that are being made here and what it means, you know, for the American people, just so that they know what they're being faced with right now. And again, we're just trying to understand in your mind if people with pre-existing conditions, you know, could see their rates go up, why that choice is important.
Yeah, and I think based on a business decision, greater the risk, the greater the premium is going to be. But I also would say, listen, we were told before, if you like the plan you have, you can keep it. If you like the doctor you have, you can keep it. And people sometimes say, well, but he didn't mean it that way. I just got to tell you, we're trying as hard as we can to get to something that makes sense, to get through the House of Representatives, guys. This isn't
But
the final piece. It goes from the House to the Senate.
Just to get some clarity on your words, you just said the greater the risk, the greater the premium. Is that what America should get ready for?
No, listen, America should get ready to see a change in the way health care is being offered to them right now. I would just say that from my standpoint, where I live and people I represent, they would like to have more control over the product that they purchase, not a top-down decision made by a government that doesn't really understand their needs. So, well, listen, there's always going to be questions about what we finally get done and how we get there. Pre-existing is very important to the people I represent back home. I understand that. I will fight for those things. But at the end of the day, there is a business proposition that's going to be put out there. Insurers are no different than any other business out there. You look at the market that you serve, you look at the people that you serve, and you come up with different plans. So there's not a one-size-fits-all. And certainly for younger people and healthy people, they say, well, why should I be taxed with all these increases? When you say, look, it's in the whole. In the whole, how are we going to get there? It is a business. It is a business proposition.
We have to leave it there, but I would note the president said more than once, I'm not going to touch